Oppenheimer has been out for several weeks, and it's time to look over what you might have missed during your viewing of the film. I had to watch the movie multiple times to pick up some dialogue, because Christopher Nolan's notorious for having terrible audio mixes in his movies ever since The Dark Knight Rises, with it being the worst in Tenet. So let's get on with what you've missed. Now, the only nuke you see in the movie is the Trinity detonation in New Mexico, south of Los Alamos, where the labs were located. And this explosion was actually 1.5 times bigger than that of Hiroshima. Now, you might think that this explosion was harmless, as it was set off far from any communities. Although no one was directly impacted by the actual explosion, the fallout actually spread to 46 states. New Mexicans had no idea a nuclear bomb was being set off somewhere in their state, so everything they ate and drank after the detonation in 1945 was contaminated without their knowledge. There were no warnings even after the Manhattan Project had gone public, nor have they been monitored for any adverse health effects. Eventually, many New Mexicans were found to have various forms of cancer from stomach, mouth, prostate, tongue, and skin cancer. Many have died due to its effects, and New Mexicans weren't supported in any way by government officials, unlike individuals affected by radioactive fallout near the Nevada test site, where many above-ground tests were conducted. Individuals affected were provided $50,000 under the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, also known as RECA, introduced in 1990. But moving on to the second thing you might have missed, and that's the secret John F. Kennedy reveal. Similar to The Dark Knight Rises, where John Blake is revealed to be Robin, Christopher Nolan blue balls the fans once again by teasing Kennedy in this film without actually showing him. Now, Christopher Nolan has stated that he is done with the Dark Knight universe, so we probably won't be receiving a Robin movie from him. But with the Flash movie revealing a multiverse or something, I don't know, I didn't watch the movie, we can maybe see Kennedy and Robin fight crime or fight during the Cold War in one of Christopher Nolan's future films. They can go from anywhere, and it would be really cool to see how it plays out and see if other Christopher Nolan movies tie into it as well, such as Tenet. Maybe having Tenet involved would explain how Robin would time travel to the past and be brought back to the Cold War to help relieve tensions with Kennedy. And the characters from Interstellar can potentially teach the Tenet characters how to travel forward in time, who then show Kennedy how to travel forward in time to Robin's universe. Then we could potentially see Kennedy being the new villain or the new deuteragonist in the new Robin movie. He can be his own character and play Kennedy, or be a different interpretation of an existing Batman villain. What I feel would be the most interesting is seeing Kennedy be Hush. I feel like Nolan can write the Waynes having some sort of dispute with Kennedy back during the Cold War, and have Kennedy come back for revenge against the Waynes by plotting to destroy their orphanage. That's where we can see Robin come in to try and stop him, to believe he is fighting his idol and have feelings of betrayal after looking up to him his whole life. This would be a really cool movie, but we all know Christopher Nolan isn't creative enough to come up with good ideas like this. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and join the 1% of everyone subscribed if you think Mission Impossible 7 Part 1 was insane. But the next secret you might have missed is the involvement of the Peaky Blinders in the Manhattan Project. Now, since Americans joined World War I late in 1917, 3 years after the war had begun in 1914, Americans weren't as fit as they could be. And after the Great War, the 1920s were booming and the economy was greater than ever. After the Roaring 20s, then came the Great Depression and then World War II. But because of the Great Depression, Americans weren't able to feed their families well. And then when World War II started, Americans weren't very fit until 1941. In 1940, the largest fast food chain in the world first opened its doors. The US government noticed its success and started selling land to make money to fund the war. This was great for the country as men started bulking up to be fit for the war, and the country was able to fund it. The government even started franchising locations on their own and eventually started spending billions on McDonald's alone. But they started running out of money and were unable to finish the funding of the Manhattan Project. As we see in this movie, there were many budgeting issues, and the final $500 million that was required for the completion of the project was funded by Thomas Shelby himself after President Harry Truman is informed by his secretary. A lot of people actually missed this, and so did I on my first watch, as the IMAX speakers went a little too crazy. You can only hear this piece of dialogue in a standard theater format, so make sure to rewatch the movie in a regular format if you want to catch the audio. But there were instances of teasing and foreshadowing Tommy's involvement from the posters, both characters cheating on their wives, and both of them having a tobacco addiction, among other scenes paralleling ones in Peaky Blinders. But the next secret you've probably missed is Albert Einstein's quote on World War III. Now, like the Harry Truman quote you probably never heard because Christopher Nolan fired his entire sound engineers during the production of the film, this scene was misheard by many people. During the final scene where Albert Einstein speaks to Oppenheimer, most people thought that Oppenheimer told Einstein that their development of the bomb might accidentally set in motion a chain of reaction that would destroy the entire universe, and that Einstein says, "What of it?" To which Oppenheimer responds saying, "I believe we did." But that's not actually what was said. Einstein said, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." And to that, Oppenheimer responds by saying, "Damn, That's crazy. And then we see the credits roll. But this is an obvious reference to the Call of Duty campaign death quote from Modern Warfare 3. But why was this the final quote that Nolan chose for the film? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Christopher Nolan partnered with Activision to tease Call of Duty's Modern Warfare 3 releasing later this year. We can potentially see Albert Einstein as the new villain in the campaign, or a character in the new Zombies mode. In Call of Duty Zombies, the wonder weapons can be anything, and we can potentially see Albert Einstein as the main character similar to Dr. Edward Richtofen, a character like Ludwig Maxis, or the one behind the entire story similar to Dr. Monty. I'm curious to see his involvement, and I would love to see how it turns out. But the final thing that you might have missed in this movie is the secret post-credit scene that I mentioned in my short. Now, Cillian Murphy did address this and state that he is down to be in the new Barbie sequel, which means that anything could happen. It'll be crazy to see Fidel Castro, Oppenheimer, and Barbie all in one movie, and I have no idea what to expect. But that's all the secrets I found in this video, so let me know what I missed in the comments. But that's about it. Later.